All right. Islam, we are here for 30 minutes more or less. Peace and greetings to all. Um, it's me, Brainy Najee, and with me is me, the lovely Zarbe, dressed in, clad in purple since technically, even though today is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. It's after sunset, so technically it's Thursday. So she's rocking the purple. All right. Um, Tonight I am going to speak and expound upon Moorish mental from cow to paradise or to paradise path, an ode to a grand sheik. I'll get into what all of that means in just a moment. But first, before I begin, I give all praises to Allah, honors to his prophet in these times, Noble Drew Ali, and his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I will be speaking from my experience and my knowledge, no matter how limited that may be, and I will speak with all sincerity. So if I misspeak, I do not intend to mislead. And with that, let us begin. All right. So I like to open with a scripture to so-called set the mood, or so to speak. So for this particular passage or um sharing, I'm going to read chapter 24, wait, what is this? 29, chapter 29, magistrate and subject. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust, fix more than the dignity and height of thy station. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. The crown of thy majesty investeth thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand. But not for thyself were these incense given, not meant for thine own, but for the good of thine kingdom. The glory of a king is the welfare of his people. The power and dominion rest on the hearts of his subjects. The minds of a great prince is exalted. I'm sorry. The mind of a great prince is exalted when the grandeur of his situation. Again, the mind of a great prince is exalted with the grandeur of his situation. He evolveth high things, and searcheth for business worthy of his power. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He consulteth among them with freedom, and heareth the opinions of them all. He looketh among his people with discernment. He discovereth the abilities of men. He employeth them according to their merits. That's worthy of repeating. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He counseleth among them with freedom, and heareth the opinion of them all. He looketh among his people with discernment. He discovereth the abilities of men, and employeth them according to their merits. His magistrates are just, his ministers are wise, and the favorite of his bosom deceiveth him not. He smileth on the arts, and they flourish. The sciences improve beneath the cultures of his hand. Oh, the sciences improve beneath the culture of his hand. With the learned and ingenious, with the learned and ingenious, oh my goodness, with the learned and ingenious, he delighteth himself. He kindleth, he kindleth in their breasts emulation. The glory of his kingdom is exalted by their labors. The spirit of the merchant who extendeth his commerce, the skill of the farmer who enricheth his lands, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of their scholar, all these he honoreth with his favor, or rewardeth with his bounty. He planteth new colonies, he buildeth strong ships, he openeth rivers for convenience, oh my goodness, he formeth harbors for safety. His people abound in riches, and the strength of his kingdom increaseth. He frameth his statutes with equity and wisdom. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security, and their happiness consists of the observance of the law. He foundeth his judgment on the principles of mercy. but in the punishment of offenders, he is strict and impartial. His ears are open to the complaints of his subjects. He restraineth his hands, he restraineth the hands of his oppressors, of their oppressors, and delivereth them from their tyranny. His people therefore look to him as a father, with reverence and love. They consider him as the guardian of all they enjoy. Their affection unto him begetteth in his breath a love of the public. The security of their happiness is the object of his care. No murmurs against him arise in their hearts. The machinations of his enemies endanger not the state. His subjects are faithful and firm in his cause. They stand in his defense as a wall of brass. The army of a tyrant flieth before them as chaff before the wind. Security and peace bless the dwelling of his people, and glory and strength encircle his throne forever. And that was chapter 29, Magistrate and Subject, from the Holy Quran Circle 7 of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, or the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I'm reading it from Califa Uhuru, a compilation of literature from the Moorish Science Temple of America, available at califamedia.com or anywhere that sells books. So I read that chapter, Magistrate and Subject, because I got such a positive response from the last Moorish Mental, where I was speaking on polygamy and how brothers blow it. It was dope. I got a lot of actual positive feedback. So I'm like, let me continue with that. I was inspired to do that because I came across a recent photograph. I think it was taken this week, of one of the subjects of one of the stories that was told the last time I did a Moorish Mental. And that was the Grand Sheik in California, and how he tried to bring me into a family he hadn't created. You're gonna have to go back on YouTube or on stereo and look at the last Moorish Mental under Brainy Najee's channel. So, cow. What is cow? But anyway, let me not diverge. So I recently saw a picture of her. Please keep that in mind. So cow. Cow is cares of world, all right, or cares of the world, right? So seeing this picture of her, it made me grateful. Like I experienced I felt a high degree of gratitude seeing this picture, right? Even though the situation last time I saw or spoke to her or the other person, it did not end well. And I'm like, wow, I actually feel happy to see this image, because it was her, and it was her in the same facility that he had helped her establish as a physical shop 8 years prior. At the same time, this grand sheik set her up, right? At the same time, he helped me establish Califa Media 8 years ago, right? So it was just tripped out that it's like, wow, look, I'm actually surprised, and wow, it just came across my feed. There she is. She's still in the same spot and she's still in the same business. That's what's up, right? And I don't know about her, but Califa Media is flourishing. And it made me think about what this Grand Sheik told me as far as why he did that. Like, why did you go through the effort of basically setting us both up in businesses that we could both run, not inclusive of one another and without you, but if we do all work together, this could be monumental. Why did you do this, right? And I'm paraphrasing because this was 8 years ago. He said his desire was to leave any woman he cared about with something that they will be able to continue. He's going to set them up with something that they could use to continue to provide for themselves. Like, wow, you don't know how this is going to go out or go on. You don't know if this is going to last or, succeed or fail. And you're making sure we're okay before we're even involved with you. Okay. So I thought that was really cool. And again, this picture reminded me of all that. And as I thought further on it, I found it interesting that how he set it up. It was really cool. So he actually used our separate talents to set us up in businesses, I guess you want to call it, or enterprises that would turn around and benefit him, right? So in my case, and it's really funny, I'm wondering if he used the astrology because I did everybody's chart. I'm a Gemini, all right? And he helped me set up Califa Media. That was the more that was looking over my shoulder when I misspelled California. Okay. With her, she's a Taurus, right? He helped her set up like a he gave helped her get established in like a physical building where not only were they able to use this to like hold meetings, they had a kitchen and a shower so they could like actually host people coming in from out of town. It had a storefront. So she was able to actually sell stuff like the prophet's tea, the prophet's oil, all that stuff, literature. That's where I came in. So it was really brilliant, right? Um, Tipping my turban to that noble because it was like this is how you do it, right? So he took my talent in like graphic designing. I love books. I've always wanted to be an editor, and he had a stack of books that he was trying to get published. That's where I come in. Now she's the Taurus, getting the the value established and solidified, right, in a physical location to sell these books that we're working on. It was brilliant. And then at the same time, these books are being used. Well, the building's being used as a temple, and the books are meant to be used in the temple. Yeah, straight up man moves. All right. And so it was, like I said, it was really cool because he provided both of us a means to provide for ourselves, even if he wasn't involved. But if he was able to keep it together, instead of trying to put people on shelves, um, it would have benefited all three of us, right? Um, so yeah, just trying to make sure I don't forget anything because I just really thought that was cool. And then that picture inspired me to go ahead and do this because I've actually been putting this off for a couple of weeks. Where again continuing on the theme of partnering up, obligating marriage, whatever you want to call it, consorting, right? Um in the astrology right now, maybe that's why this has been on my mind. In the astrology right now, Mars and Venus are conjunct. They keep separating and coming together, separating, coming together, separating, coming together in the sign of Capricorn, right? And I think this, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be going on until the end of March when Venus finally separates completely and goes on her way. So anyway, continuing on that theme of Mars and Venus joining in the sign of stability and structure and rules and laws and all that stuff, Capricorn. Um, that got me looking at the astrology even closer. And I'm just like, wow, it's interesting. Oh, the Vedic astrology. I've been looking into that. And it's just funny how stuff just intersects. So I happen to be looking at Vedic astrology and learning about the three various charts or the numerous charts, but three specifically of Vedic astrology. And the three specific ones I want to focus on are the birth chart called the Rashi chart, right? And then there's two secondaries. It's a D7, that's the subtamsha, and the D9, I think it's the D9, the Navamsha. All right. So your Rashi, if I understand it correctly, your birth chart, that's where here's your map of how to have a life that's beneficial to you and others, right? But you have free will. You can choose to not go there. That's Rashi. Your Satamsha is I hope I'm saying this right. Or yeah, Allah willing, I'm pronouncing these correctly. Your Satamsha is the chart that tells you what you need other people in order to accomplish, right? Like you cannot have children by yourself, right? You cannot have a baseball team by yourself, right? So if that's like your goal in life, you need to look at that chart to see, okay, how do I partner? How do I show up? And who do I look for? That kind of thing. That's what that one tells. Now, take it a step further, and you have now joined, you have a contractual obligation with somebody, right? That's your Navamsha. So your Setamsha could be like your boyfriend, and your Navamsha, I'm just gonna call them D7 and D9. So your D7 Setamsha could be your boyfriend, and your D9 Navamsha is your spouse. Okay. Um, and looking at it makes you look at all three at the same time, the way I've been studying it, right? And I'm just like, the fact that these other two charts are even a thing indicates how important it is for us to consort, however you choose to look at that, right? So that could just be a business thing, right? Um, like I think I want to do a project with somebody that's a D7 Satamsha. I think I want to go like actually set up a business with this person that's Navamsha, the D9. And then who am I in this process? That's your birth chart, right? But the thing is, I'm just looking at people's, especially our people's charts, right? Because I love doing other people's charts because it teaches me about myself. How um a lot of people they like when I do people's charts, they tell me how much they might not enjoy being in relationships, but how or partnership, however you want to look at it, right? But they can't help but acknowledge how beneficial it is to work with another person. Like they flourish when they're working with other people. And then I look at their various charts or even just their birth chart, right? It's like where's Taurus and where's Scorpio? And depending on where it is, it actually tells you, nope, you're not going to be able to cross over to prosperity until you unite with another person in some form or fashion. It could be marriage, it could just be setting up a business, like a taco stand together, something where you're engaging with another person, and it like triggers stuff in your path, your life path, right? And that got me to thinking, like, is this why our nation is in such shambles, right? Because if we get our houses in order, well, I just say fortunes seem to increase after marriage. Look around you and look around yourself and you judge the evidence for yourself, all right? In your distinct perspective, you judge it for yourself, right? And it makes me think this is why all cultures advocate for marriage, right? And then it made me think, man, this is why it seems, at least from my perspective, why all cultures seem to be advocating and actively working to keep our specific people out of that culture, right? Like, let's throw some money at the women to make it like, well, you know, yeah, I can do it on my own, but the state, if I marry the state, that sure will make it easier. So now I don't have to worry about looking for a husband, right? That kind of thing. Not saying she has to be put in a position of desperation. I'm just saying, you know, if she's domesticated, why should she try to like test the wiles? That kind of thing. Um, and then it keeps the brothers broke because it's matrimony, mother's money. So if you don't have a woman, even it's funny, even homosexuals get married, the guys, because they the smart ones, because they realize what's going on, the energy. Usually they marry like a lesbian, but it's like, hey, y'all get it, and they flourish, right? And it's funny, even when they marry one another, they flourish just because they're in partnership, right? Apparently, as a social animal, this must be something that's important to how we function or something, right? So, my thing is like also how the caliphate, I think I spoke on this, or it might be on one of the talk Moorish to me, how we spoke on how that's why the Moorish the caliphate of Muhammad, peace be upon him, spread so quickly because they did it through the families and conversion, right? And getting back to the Grand Sheik in California who basically hooked it up. It's interesting. I don't know about her, but I didn't ask for anything that he did for me. He just did it, right? And I grew up with my father, and he used to teach me, you don't have, that's probably why I have a problem asking for first things, because I never had to ask him for anything, right? He would sit back, observe. He's a reader, but he was always peeking over that book, and he would anticipate people's needs, right? But he was a Leo too, so he was like very, very generous. Um, so, and I'm just like, this Grand Sheik, I'm just like, wow, you remind me of my dad, how I didn't ask for any of this, right? It seems like you're trying to set up some kind of kingdom, right? You're building an empire through the women. Your job isn't to do the actual work, it's to gather the women who are willing to work and cultivate what they got going on, right? And our thing is, we automatically share. We make sure everybody eats. Most women, not all of us, okay? In general, we make sure everybody's gonna get their fair, enough. They're gonna get full, right? Hopefully, they get their fair share. And it was really cool how not only did he anticipate the needs, but it's just like, how did you even know what we were both into? You asked questions. You displayed an interest, that kind of thing. And that's not even hard, it's like a simple conversation. So what's your favorite food? Blah blah blah. What's yours? We all learn this. And then my favorite part of where guys come in is this equation. Foresight, right? He used to dream out loud in front of me. What if? That simple. And it's like, wow, that's a good idea. I know how to do XYZ. Really? All we needed was, there you go. And see, Califa Media. It's really too bad we fell out, I'm not gonna go into that, but it's just like, wow. I feel so much gratitude and so privileged to have just been a part of that process and been able to watch it unfold and to be able to see what not to do next time, right? And it taught me to see, not only to just like smell BS before it comes over the horizon, but I got BS spidey senses type of thing. So yeah, if I suddenly disappear, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not jocking him, you know. I'm jocking his application and what he did, right? If that's jocking him, so be it. Right? I really appreciate somebody who's like working with nature in an elevated sense of the way, right? Like, nature is beautiful. The lions have how they structure their little lion societies, and the males that know how to do it the best, those the ones that get the women. That's fair, right? And they run the savannah, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think, who do they run from? Probably jackals. That's about it. But because the jackals are better organized, right? And they're matrilineal too. That's crazy. But anyway, but yeah, I just had to come on and share that, you know, in case any brothers are wondering how you can stand out, and any sisters is like, what, based on my experience, if I could ever find somebody doing that again, it's just like, can I at least work with you? Just because I see, it's like, that's your lane. I'm a helper. I like being a helper. I want to be the idea person because I like moving around type of thing. That's just me. If you're the idea person and you want somebody to carry out the labor, that's you, right? But on this side, no. So yeah, I would almost equate it to being um a pimp. But instead of him taking all the benefit from himself and exploiting these women, he's exploiting their talents, which are usually like their passions, right? And keeping them in one location, right? Nobody has to go nowhere or compromise anything. And his job is to keep it organized, right? To see what it can become, that kind of thing. Asking questions, getting feedback, that kind of thing. not a pimp, a head of household. What do they call that? A paterfamilias, right? So yeah, that's my 50 cents, you know. I hope that was clear. Um, but yeah, that's about it. That's all I got to say on the subject. Thank you for any and all who who will listen or, you know, be present later. And this will be uploaded to YouTube. On that note, thank you, gratitude, appreciate it. And till next time, peace.